If you read and understand the stories of our gurus and the sacrifices they made, 2 of which gave their lives, can we even fathom that devotion that they held, that courage, and the unattachment? Because to survive through that, one has to become personally impersonal. Personally, but impersonal. Not get attached. This is not another how do we remain personally impersonal? To have a loving flow but not get attached to it. Because as soon as there's attachment to it, then we fall into the emotions of it. And it's through falling into the emotions of it that we end up in the drama of it. Right? So then the love has to be pure. The love has to be, there's no attachment to the love. There's no, we're not looking, I love you, but you have to give me something back. In most relationships, I love you is just a hook. Meaning, I love you, now do you love me? Well, you didn't say it. Do you really? Right? There's always that emotional hook. Right? I love you is an emotional hook. Because if you don't get it back, I love you, then, oh, you don't. And it's those kinds of attachments. But if it's pure, then you don't need a response back. And that, in a great essence, is our love of our Guru. Because Guru isn't that which is going to ever put a hook into it. Because you love Guru because it's your heart. And that's why Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, look at the light of God in everyone. Then you'll fall in love with everyone. But that love will be the purity of self, not a hook. Not something I want back. And that comes from you. That comes from inside of you, in your self-confidence, in your self-awareness, in your self-knowledge, in your self-mastery. And what brings all of that self-knowledge, all of that self-mastery, all of that self-understanding, it has to come through good body. And every day we go through those things and something happens and this upset me and this put me off and this wasn't done right. But we always have a chance. Because Guru shall never abandon us. We don't have to fear that. Guru shall never abandon our highest ability and capacity. Because our consciousness, which is the relationship of our soul, our Atma, is attached. That's the one attachment. We say we don't want the 5 attachments, lust, anger, greed, pride, attachment, but attach me to only what? To the lotus feet of my Guru. That's the only attachment I want. I want to be attached to the lotus feet of God. That's the only attachment. And never feel separated. Never feel separated from that attachment. And that becomes my alignment. Nothing else. Not your children, not your marriage, not this, not your work, not your money, not your homes, not your cars, not this. My first attachment is to Him. Then comes underneath. Because if I don't have my first attachment there, then what are these other things I'm going to have? They won't work. And anything that hasn't worked, I know in my life, is because my ego got before my Guru. That's all. I can come to Him. There's no doubt about it. Because we as humans are always looking for a hook. We want to hook into something someone, hook into this. Because we still believe the Maya, the illusion of this world, is greater than my attachment to the lotus feet of God. It's true. We always, that's the duality within inside of us. Always. Will always be our duality. Because we live in this society. We have to work, we have to go to school, we have businesses, we work someplace, we earn an income, we have mortgages, we have payment, we've got our children, we've got this, we have that, we've got to run there, then we have to run there, after that I have to run here, then I have to make sure this is look. Yeah, so we live in that world. And that world is what overtakes us because it's beyond the capacity of our mind. So it overwhelms, and then through being overwhelmed, we start to become out of alignment. But how do we feel when we come back to the feet of Buddha? When we do Dham Simran body, then we feel whole again, we feel part again. And that was the balance that Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught us. To be the householder, but have a spiritual life. And his message was simply observe. Simply observe. And walk the path of others with your heart. And that through that shall come the realization of the greatness of God. And Guru Nanak lived that example. He traveled how many thousands upon thousands of miles? They put him in jail, right? Then the king came himself to get him out and found out who he was. Great people of history that we read in the history books passed in Guru Nanak, Hannibal, others. They passed by. Guru Nanak